Hey everybody, it's Dana. It is tonight we're chatting about supplements. So I hope all of you are coming with your questions. And I'll do my best to try and answer some of the basics. So hopefully people will pop in here shortly. I will remind everybody that while we're talking about supplementation, and essential oils and all the things that come with that, I am not here tonight to tell you that your dog needs any particular supplement, nor how much, nor how long, or how often. So I'm going to give you some general guidelines, and I'll help answer questions. But just want to remind you that I'm not here to try and give you any prescriptions or diagnoses or anything like that. Hi, Angela. Hi, Logan. How you guys doing? How's Opie doing? And Max. Angela, have you got an update on Max? Nobody's talking to me. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into the discussion on supplements, and hopefully other people will be dialing in. Feel free to ask questions if you have them. We could spend a couple of days, like a whole workshop weekend, talking about nothing but supplements. And we just don't have that kind of time. So what I may do is hit some highlights, and then over the coming weeks do a little more drill down into categories of them. But feel free to pop in with whatever questions you have. If you, I hope he's doing okay. I'm assuming we got those things taken off of his little body. And I hope that turns out okay. If I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, if you have not gone on to the online training that I created on Thinkific. So Thinkific is just online courseware. And I've created a couple of little text-based, they're not even video-based. You can walk through a couple of sections at a time over the course of several days or whatever time you have to spare, and learn a little bit more about essential oils for people. So if we start there, everybody has a common foundation, and then we move into making it more specific about our dogs. I think that's going to put everybody on a common playing field. So when I'm having discussions with you, you'll have a little more clarity about all that. In that document, or in those training for both the people and the dogs, there is a whole section that speaks about supplementation. So again, trying to get everybody a little bit of guidance on that and a common playing field, I encourage you to go do that and start learning a little more that way. Please don't worry about it being the fact that you have to put your email in there. I promise you, I am not going to harass you. I spend a lot of time unsubscribing from stuff. And I'm not going to do a drip campaign in there. I may send you periodic, hey, there's a new module, or there's a new class or whatever, but it's not going to be like these harassment kind of things of me trying to get you to buy something. I would love to have you on the team, but that's not the way I'm going to approach it with that particular online courseware. Okay. There may be some other classes coming in the future, but for right now, these are free and they are intended to sort of set that baseline. Oh, Logan, I'm excited to hear that. Awesome. So Logan's been doing Raindrop with Opie, who had a pretty rough time after a dog incident out on their walk. And so I'm glad to hear that he's sort of coming back around into his happier self. So that's good news. Okay, so we're going to talk about supplements tonight. And if you think about supplementation, there's sort of a list of common categories that people get into, right? The first one I think is around omega support and joint health. I'll cover a little bit there, but we're also going to touch on things like supplements for the heart, or digestive system, or even getting into some brain health and a variety of other categories. So I'm trying to talk to you guys, but I have notes that I do need to read. So if we look at the omega, first of all, I want to just give a little bit of background. So everybody thinks we need omega supplements. And the truth is you probably do. If you are a kibble feeder of chicken, the protein source being chicken, or you have shifted into being a home cook where you are making something like chicken and rice and peas and carrots, for example, and I'm simplifying a little bit, but you are missing the essential fatty acids, omega-3. You're getting a lot of omega-6 in a chicken-based diet, but you're starting to miss the omega-3. And when we have an imbalance there, we can actually do a significant amount of harm to the body because it's not getting the balance of nutrient that it needs in that category. So then we look at saying, well, what do we add to get omega-3? And there's a couple of options. One is all the traditional fish oil that we think about. And then we're starting to see omega-3 show up, but it's plant-based. It's showing up as flaxseed oil or hemp or chia, for example. Even the product that I talk about that is omega gold or equine omega gold and canine omega gold is a camelina oil, which is technically flaxseed, right? When we look at plant-based omega-3, we are not getting and not able to have the dog's body convert to what's known as EPA and DHA omega, which is necessary. So you've really got to look at what the uniqueness of those two are and where are you getting the DHA, EPA omega-3. And it's going to mostly come from your fish-based sources. Now, you then have to say, where is the fish originating? How is it harvested? Is it environmentally friendly, and so on? And there are a lot of manufacturers, just like we talk about in the essential oil space. There are a lot of manufacturers that are not eco-friendly. And so you really need to do a little bit of research into that. The other thing that you have to think about with something like a fish oil is, has it started to go rancid? So it's been said that most fish oil that you and I buy is rancid before we ever start to use it. So when you think about going to the Costco or Sam's or somewhere like that and you're buying these gigantic supplies, know that you really need to only be buying a couple of months at a time. That by the time we've reached 3 months of a bottle that gets opened every day and we're taking out those little capsules of it, by the end of 3 months, that product is probably no good. And veterinarians and researchers and all will tell you that it is more damaging to use a rancid fish oil than it would be to use none at all. So important for you to think about that. It's also important, just like we talk about essential oils need to be in these dark amber glass bottles, right? The same is said to be true of a good quality fish oil, that it's not going to come in a plastic bottle. And when we see them in liquid form and we have the plastic pump, and I didn't know this until I was doing a little more research recently, that those plastic pumps and the lids are not actually airtight. So remember we talk about opening a bottle and it gets exposed to the air, the oxygen starts that oxidization process. Basically, that's happening all the time with pump bottles because air is getting into and through those little tubes. And I even heard that plastic bottles are breathable. That's why, for example, we would see a soft drink bottle go flat is because it's been exposed to the air. Air gets into the bottle or breathes through the bottle as those gases move around in there and come through the bottle. And that can be a contributing factor to products that started out good going bad quickly. So think about your omega supplement. Hi, Sandra, how are you? Think about your omega supplement. Now, we've got to come back and take a look at, I missed my talking point on that. So we mentioned omega-6 in a chicken-based diet. If you only had chicken and you were not getting anything that gave you a balance to the omega-3, right? So if you're not adding in omega-3 from some food source, then you could actually be contributing to inflammation in your dog's body or your own because of how much omega-6 there is, right? Without its offset or without its balanced counterpart. So just be very aware of that. So does that clarify anything for you guys as you think about an omega supplement? I think that's a great supplement for most dogs and for most people. We know that it benefits things like joints, muscles, brain functions, the heart. It can be beneficial to, I can't use those words, but those things that our joints get painful and problematic as we age, it can certainly help as a contributing factor and benefit in that category. Okay, so when you start looking for an omega supplement, you're probably going to want to primarily be in the fish oil or this marine oil category, which would also include things like seaweeds and kelp and things of that nature, right? When we look at something like cod liver oil, one of the things I want you to remember is that when we have a liver-based oil versus an oil from the other components of the fish's body, for example, you are not getting as much omega-3 from the liver-based product as you would from the body-based product, if that makes sense. So you need to do a little research. A lot like essential oils, there are not a lot of labeling requirements. So dig deep as you are starting to think about your choices in that. And again, in a similar context with any supplement that you're choosing, know that cheaper is probably for a reason, right? There's probably not a lot of good benefit to the cheaper products. And as I said, when you buy these big quantities of product and you're thinking that's going to last me 6 months, you're probably not. You're probably getting about 2 to 3 months out of that bottle before you need to throw it away. All right. Any questions? Okay. So other things that we then start to look at as common choices, right, would be things like digestive enzymes, things for the digestive system. So there's a lot of options, right? And so I can name names of my essential oils and their supplements from Young Living. Omega Gize is a great one for the omega supplement. It even has things like CoQ10 in it. It is from a environmentally friendly source, meaning They are not going out and damaging the ecosystem. They are not creating a harvest to the point of there being nothing left. It is very environmentally friendly the way that that is done. So as we move into digestive health, we then start looking at things like digestive enzymes. And a question being, does your dog need digestive enzymes? Probably so. When we look at food sources, so you've heard me say this before, if you are converting your dog from a kibble-based diet into a whole foods diet, he no longer makes the right type of enzymes to process those nutrients appropriately. So that's one place to add a digestive enzyme. Even as a kibble feeder, what nutrients are we getting out of that food? So we know that when we have kibble diets, they are highly processed, and what goes back in as an add-on, because it all got cooked out, was most likely a synthetic vitamin and mineral. If you move into the higher brands of food, right, and I can think of 3 or 4 top categories, they are certainly going to be better vitamin and mineral wise, but they are still not going to necessarily be your optimal choices. So adding in digestive enzymes that help the body extract out as much nutrient as it can is all the better. There are actually essential, so if we think about enzymes, I'm looking at Essential Enzymes 4 with the Young Living product. It is the one that I would choose if I were looking at a dog's kibble-based diet that is leaning into a higher level of fat and carbohydrate. Even our diet, this is the Enzyme Choice that I would probably use. There is another digestive enzyme called Essential Enzyme. So you've got Essential Enzyme and Essential Enzyme 4. Both help manage nutrition, but one is targeted a little bit more at those diets that are more carbohydrate based. Okay, so these are human grade supplements that people take that have been tested and evaluated and considered into our animals space, right? So again, I'm not here tonight to tell you that your dog needs a specific supplement or how much or how long or how often, but just what your options are. But most dogs need some digestive enzyme of some sort from somewhere, okay? If I go back into this joint category, right, we think about how can we support inflammation in the body? How can we support, that aging process, or those dogs that are prone to having joint issues? So in addition to the omega that we talked about, we can look at turmeric-based supplements. So golden paste is a great option for many of you. It is probably one of your most economical options. It would actually be better for you to make it than to go out and buy some of these lesser quality brands. And you have to remember that it takes a fat to be delivered with the turmeric, along with freshly ground black pepper, which has something scientific in the way that it works in the liver to tell the body not to purge all of that out, but rather to use it more wisely. And so you've got the turmeric, the black pepper, and the fat that goes with it. And so if you're not getting that, right, so I can't imagine that when you go out and you buy some of these turmeric-based products, that there's a fat going in with it. And so could you add a fat? Yes. Do most people know to do that? Probably not. right? So it's important to be aware of that. When we look at a product like Agiles, it is got essential. So when we think about essential oils paired with a supplement, science has shown that those supplements are actually better utilized by the body. So the essential oils go in and do a little bit of magic in the cells and help clear receptor sites to receive things and to use things better. So Agiles is a great supplement. It's one I take, and it's one that's part of Poppy's regimen. That's very beneficial to joint health and care. If we then shift a little bit into those dogs that tend to have ligament issues, right? So we think about a dog blows out their knee. It's not often the joint, it's often the ligaments that surround that, right? So then is Agiles the best or the only source of support for that? Maybe not. I use a product called BLM. And if you think about it in terms of standing for the bone support, ligament support, muscle support, then I pair those two together on an alternating basis throughout her day as part of her supplement routine. We know that dogs who have those ligament issues in one leg tend to be prone to have it happen in the second one, right? And so just be aware that there are options for that, right? I'm going to pause and flip back to my screen and see about questions. Maybe a dumb question, but quality fish oil for humans would be safe for dogs, or does it need to be specific? It can be the same. It can be the same human grade product. It then just becomes about how much do you give to the animal based on their size and needs and that sort of thing. But the same human grade supplement in a fish oil is okay for your dog. So good question about the dog with a fish allergy. You kind of got to stay away from that, right? So that might be a place that you look at these camelina oils or these flaxseed oils, for example, as at least some supportive omega-3 going in. But if your dog is allergic to fish, then I don't know of an alternative to give to them in that category. What you might then try, though, is moving into that category of kelp or other greens that have the omega-3 in them, right? So think marine life, but looking at not fish per se, but more of the marine plant material. So I hope that answers your question. I know Bonnie has a dog with a fish allergy, and she's been using the camelina oil as well. They're not the same. They're not going to give us the same end result, but it's helpful, right? All right. Where am I? Let me just stop and say, because I could pick a bazillion categories. What's one that you guys are most interested in? What are you wanting to learn about? What supplements are you thinking about? One, while you're doing that, and I'm looking for some information here, is vitamin C. So it is a really good consideration when we have animals that need support for the cellular system of their body. Okay, so I'll leave it at that for a second, but I want you to understand that getting some vitamin C into those animals is extremely helpful. So back in this category of joint health, those dogs like Poppy with some knee issues, one of the supplements that could be beneficial to you as well is MSM, and that comes in sulfurzyme. So I know a lot of people who take Agiles and sulfurzyme together as the human and swear by it. They're like, I have never felt better or more, sort of free and active and mobile in my entire life. So we could do the same type of protocol for our dogs. It might be one that you choose to do like Agiles for one meal and sulfurzyme at the next, or, some rotation along those lines. I personally, based on specifics with Poppy, chose Agiles and the BLM. Could I do golden paste? Totally. Am I too lazy to make golden paste on a regular basis? Yes, that's my problem. And also, if she and I are traveling back and forth, staying in a hotel or headed down to our little beach place or whatever, Agiles and BLM are just so convenient for me to carry without a lot of fuss or a lot of mess. Okay. All right. So sticking in this digestion issue, one of the next topics that everybody looks at is sort of the probiotics. And then the question becomes, do we need a prebiotic as well? Yes, they somehow need to go hand in hand. The prebiotic is basically what the probiotic eats, right, in order to do what it needs to do and sustain its integrity in the gut so that it can manage the rest of the internal flora and gut health and all that it needs to do. So yeah, dogs probably need some sort of prebiotic probiotic combination, at least a good probiotic. That's one of the things that I like most about the Volhard food is I don't have to add a lot of stuff. I don't have to build a lot of a supplementation plan because so many of these things are already built into it, right? But you can look at a good quality yogurt if you're trying to save a little bit of money. If you have a dog, though, that has been on serious rounds of medication for whatever unwell reason, right? We know that when we put dogs on big doses of medications, whether it's as a young puppy or as a senior citizen or somewhere in between, that those medications can really start to monkey up the digestive health and the gut health of our dog. So certainly following, if we get a dog in that we know has had health issues and has been just given medication, you got to get that gut health back in check. And so digestive enzymes, probiotics, great combination of things to bring together, get the body back in balance, especially while you're trying to transition them to better foods. And then maybe if you get the food options right, then those things could start to be changed or reduced. The general theory with any supplementation is we get what we need from whole food sources. And when we get that right, then we can start to offset some of the supplements how am I trying to phrase this? We can start to eliminate supplements. That's just what a supplement is. It is intended to supplement something missing from the diet. And if we can get that in check, then maybe we don't need to put something else in if we've got the whole food nutritional regimen into place. But that's crazy hard to do, right? So again, one of the reasons I like my Volhard food is I know that's done for me. For those of you that are doing home prepared foods, it's possible. It takes a lot of calculation. For those of you that are feeding kibble, it's not happening. Your dogs are at best getting a synthetic vitamin and mineral, so supplementation has to start to show up from somewhere. Okay. All right. We know, you guys may not know, but I'm about to tell you, we know that vitamin B, so there's a range of vitamin Bs, right? There's a vitamin B complex sort of thing. Very beneficial to our overall health. Did you know, though, that vitamin B1 is extremely beneficial to helping prevent free riders that like to land on your dog's body and ride along for the summer, right? They don't like how the skin, the vitamin B is expelled through the skin of your dog. And those little free riders don't like it. They don't like the way it tastes. They don't like the way it feels. And they're like, I'm not landing on that dog, right? So that's a very beneficial nutrient that has perhaps what some of you may see as an unexpected benefit, right? So when we talk about trying to go more natural in terms of eliminating these topical things that we put on our dog or the orals that they have to take that circulate through their blood system, wouldn't it be better that it's vitamin B, right? That's a far more natural thing to help with that. All right. I'll give you a couple more topics. So we don't often think about using hormonal support for our dogs. Those of you that are in rescue, you get in a lot of pregnant mamas, right? You get in a lot of dogs that maybe lost all the babies, have been newly spayed or neutered. We've had some false pregnancy, all of those kinds of things, right? Those are the same type of hormonal issues that you might have as a woman, right? And we don't often take a step back and say, can I support this animal through those types of health issues? And the answer is you can, much in the same way we use hormonal supplements for us, we can apply the same kind of situation to the dogs. So I need to flip screens. Hold on one second. I'm on the wrong page. So we could look at something like Thimogen, for example. There's one called Rehomin that these would be really helpful to those dogs. And again, if we think about it, the idea is that it's sort of temporary, right? That it's not forever. It just may be while the body's hormonal system is out of whack, like, you know. And so I hear this all the time. I get calls of the female mama is attitudinal. Well, maybe so. I probably would be myself, right? Or that they're perhaps even depressed at the loss of puppies or whatever those things may be. And so there are ways in which we can use these same types of supplements for the benefit of those animals. The next one, you hear me talk about all the time about boosting the immune system, boosting the immune system, boosting the immune system. So there's not much more we can do in a better capacity than to let the body try to do its best work, right? So when we get these animals that come in that have been compromised with really poor nutrition, they've been unwell, they've had all this medication thrown at them, or whatever the situation may be, if we can help bring that back to balance and let the body do what it needs to do best, then we are better equipped, or they are better equipped, when we go to the park or when we go to these dog events or we go to these competition shows and the unknown quantities of things are in the air or in the ground, then the body can better fight off those things. It also translates into, if you've ever listened to Rodney Habib, who I think is, he's a great researcher, and they're doing some really wonderful things with education. One of the things that he talks about in the dog cancer series with his own personal dog was this sort of buildup of the dog was fine until he wasn't. And what happens is we throw things at the body, and this happens to you and me as well. We throw things at the body that are environmental toxins, vaccinations, topicals and orals, medications, stress, all of those things, right? And the body, the mitochondria of the body, it fights off that stuff, right? It fights and fights and fights until it's like, I am too fatigued, I am too beat up, I am too damaged to fight off those things anymore. And so it's our body's immune system that we give that strength, right? That we give that the strength to keep fighting and to not take on that damage. So there are things that will help boost the immune system in many ways. One of the best things, and this is tricky for a lot of people, I'm just going to share it with you though, but a lot of people are like, oh my God, I can't afford that, is the Ninja Red drink. It is filled with antioxidants and immune boosting, amazing things. My dogs love it. I love it. I drink a couple of shots of it every day, and it's super helpful. Very rich in antioxidants. There's something called the ORAC scale, which measures the amount of antioxidants. If we think about a blueberry having 2,000 on that scale, this is like 20 times that. I mean, it's like one of the highest ORAC counts of any product that there is. So if I were trying to help a dog recover, stay well, that's one of my first go-tos to add to the mix, right? So take a look at that as a consideration. My personal suggestion might be that if you only could afford a single supplement, that would probably be the one. And share it with your dog. It has so many amazing benefits that lean into joint health and brain health and heart health and skin health, and it kind of is a superpower. So I would take a look at Ninja Red if you have not. There is an essential oil that Howie, or a supplement that Howie gets. So Howie's my eldest little dachshund, and I love him dearly. But it's called Longevity. It's great for our senior citizens, though you do not have to wait until they get geriatric, right? So the sad part is we think about our dogs becoming senior citizens around 8 years of age now, right? He's probably close to 15. But it is really strong in antioxidants. It's a great multivitamin type supplement for them, for you as well. Remember, everything I'm telling you right now is shared with both. And it's beneficial to brain health, cardiovascular health, cells of the body, the liver, the immune system, and the nervous system. So if I had two, that I might be looking at Ninja and Longevity for my little senior citizens. Mind-wise, so I personally was taking Mind-wise until CardioGize came out, and I've made a switch to give it a try. I may actually rotate them. But Mind-wise, so if you think about brain health, super beneficial for that, but also for heart function. It has omega-3 fatty acids in it, right? From that whole reliable source that we talked about. It has CoQ10 in it, and it also has turmeric in it. So again, when you start looking at these supplements, and I know a lot of people look at them and go, I have no idea which one to choose. Look at the ingredients. Go look at what it's targeted and designed to do and say, do I need multiples, or does one kind of meet the need of what I'm trying to do? And, how can I manage that? And this is a little bit salesy, and I don't mean for it to be, but just remember, when you're looking at these Young Living products, you and your dog can get the same products, right? We can trust those resources, and you're not shopping around wondering about the quality. And you can also get your incentives back. You can get credits and points back, which is, honestly, y'all, I buy pretty much all my supplements paid for with my points. So I usually don't spend a whole lot of actual money to do that. Okay. Let's see. What is the dosage? So Maria, unfortunately, I cannot discuss dosages here. What I would say is, look, we can talk later, but generally for an adult dog, I look at adult dosage for the animal, unless it is a tiny animal. Like, so Howie's little, so I often take the tip off my capsule. Huey gets a squeeze and Howie gets a squeeze, and I call it a day, right? But I can't give you specifics in this format. I'm sorry. All right. So we talk often about sort of this detox thing, right? We have dogs that wind up with some challenges in their behavior. One of the first things that I look at, and I'm sorry, I rambled right through that, but I'm going to go back to my point here for a second. We look at detox and we say, does my dog need one? For most of our dogs, I think the answer is yes, right? If we've been long-term kibble feeders, regular vaccinators, regular topical and oral administrators, regular users of fabric sprays and candles and traditional household cleaners and things of that nature, you and your dog could probably benefit from a detox, right? And then you need to figure out how you're going to stop putting as much back in, right? So we want to get it clean, keep it clean, and eliminate putting more back in on top of that. So remember that mitochondria I talked about. It can take it until it can't. So the fact that that's the lifestyle most all of us have lived for our whole lives, and in some regards are still living. I know I still struggle, y'all, with the diet. It is true and it's real. But if we can detox them, and there's a couple of ways to do this. You can do it dietary, right? You can do diets that are focused at cleansing the liver, and diets that are focused at cleansing the kidneys, and really work to bring that sort of back into as much health as possible. I'm not telling you that it cures anything, but ideally it helps clean up things a little bit. So we can look at diet and we can look at supplementation. There are cleanses and detox supplements that are intended to do just that. There are a lot of options, even within the Young Living line. So you take a step back and you say, what is it that I'm really trying to do? Which one of these is going to sort of be the best approach? And you drill into the descriptions and the research on them, and you make selections that way. So I think a lot of people look at that list and go, I don't know which one to choose. But if we stop and we think about what is it that we're really after, then the decisions become a whole lot clearer. So anytime in the Young Living line that you see something that's listed with Juva, Juva something, know that is trying to help address a liver need, right? So Juva Power, I'll give you an example. Juva Power helps with oxidative stress. Remember those free radicals, those things floating around in the body that attack our little mitochondria? That's part of it. If you want to get into helping cleanse the colon and the intestinal system, then this is probably the one to choose. If you're looking to really try and get the liver to detoxify, then Juvatone may be the one, right? If your dog is high in protein, or you are high in a protein diet, then Juvatone may be the one to choose from over JuvaPower. So I know a lot of these things are not necessarily listed in great detail in the reference guides. And when you look at the description on the website, they're often pretty vague, right? So get help, ask, from help from your educator, and really start to dig a little deeper. Get yourself a research book if you don't have one, and start to go and look a little deeper in that. I was headed into the Howie issue, and me as well. I'm giving you guys a little personal information, but there's a supplement called K&B tincture, and it does not taste good. I've learned to tolerate it, but Howie doesn't care. His is buried under raw hamburger. He's like, fine, I don't mind. But if you're trying to support a dog or yourself with kidney and bladder type issues, so remember kidney and bladder go together, then K&B tincture is a great consideration to put into the rotation of your daily regimen, right? Mineral essence. So how many times do you hear us talk about mineral deficiencies? The vitamins and minerals in many of our dogs, we've already said, are synthetic. And so when we get dogs that are, they've come in and we know they're deficient, they've been emaciated, or whatever the situation may be, or even us and our diet is not giving us all the things that we need, getting more minerals into the body is a good thing to do. Mineral essence, y'all, taste nasty and it smells nasty, but if you can learn to tolerate it, the minerals are going to be what allows our vitamins to get absorbed better and to really help bring sort of all of that back into balance. So where I got sidetracked a couple of minutes ago, we talked about tryptophan recently. Dogs that are deficient in tryptophan could actually present with aggressive behavior, right? So you've heard me talk about this emotional side of it, and I've mentioned it on the nutritional side as well, but now we're looking at where are they getting it? Where does the tryptophan come from? And this does not mean you need to go out and deliver turkey diets to your dog all day, every day. It talks about the rotation of your protein sources. And if it's not in your poultry-based diet, that's all you feed all the time, your dog might be deficient in tryptophan, which could be a contributing factor to aggressive behavior. The brain doesn't function right. So we have to look at these things. We have to evaluate them across the board. My suggestion to all of you is go get blood work analysis on your dogs and ask the vet, are we in the right range for whatever vitamin and mineral nutrient is supposed to be? Are we in the right range? Are you high in that range or are you low in that range, right? And then you need to compare the next time. Did it go up? Did it go down? Was the change significant? So a lot of times we go, we're in range, and we don't question that any further. But is there perhaps a trend within that range? And that could be a big indicator to a potential problem that you are about to face as your dog ages or as his diet catches up with him or her, right? So these are a big deal. These are a big deal kind of thing for you to keep in mind. And you need your vet, you need to go and get this baseline work done and really have some different conversations with your veterinarian. One of the supplements that I personally like a lot is called multigreens. So if I'm trying to add green leafy vegetables and whatnot to my diet, which I'm terrible at, I just signed up for HelloFresh to try and do a better job of that. But multigreens is a great way to get in green nutrition into the diet. And I would do it for the dogs as well. I've had dogs come in here for training, and you look at them and you're like, what you're eating is not really great. And we need to beef them back up, so to speak, nutrient wise. So it's a good option to try and get more green nutrient into your body or the dog's body. It actually is a source of Pacific kelp, which could tie us back into a little bit of support for our omega-3s that we were talking about. Okay. I could continue. So let's see what other questions you guys have. Any questions on any of that? So when we think about giving treats, I'm going to just shift a little bit here, and we talk about supplementing systems of the body. One of the things for you to consider is supplementing with what we would call like organ meat. So if the kidneys need support, you might give kidney treats or liver treats. Remember that when you do this, you need to not give more than about 5% of the total diet the dog has in an organ meat category, right? So you can't base your dog's diet on beef liver or chicken hearts or whatever it is. That would not be a sustainable diet. It needs to be perhaps part of the diet, but not all. And generally it's said organ meat should be less than or up to 5% of your dog's total diet. Okay. So, but keep that in mind. If you're trying to support systems of the body, remember the term like supports like, and keep that in mind. Okay. We even talk, let me rephrase. We don't talk often about brain health, and I think we should. A couple of the supplements that I've mentioned will help do that. MindWise is one of them. Ninja Red is another. There are others. Howie actually uses a supplement called Brain Power, not a supplement, an essential oil called Brain Power. My mother uses Brain Power because they both scanned for it on the Zytoscan. And so what that is about clarity and memory and supporting brain health and typical brain function, right? So there are treats that also are basically freeze-dried brain. If you're looking for an interesting treat in that category with lots of different organ meats, then Dr. Jody Gruenstern has one. I think she calls it Trail Mix. That's a good option to have an occasional treat, but it's a variety of organ meats for your dog. It's been said that and y'all, I get you. I love you vegans and vegetarians, and I'm sorry, but your dog is not one of them. The younger the animal that goes into these food sources, the less toxins that animal has picked up and then therefore passed on to your dog. The same is true when we talk about fish oil supplements. The younger the fish or the smaller the fish, That's why a lot of people went into this krill oil, for example. The younger and the smaller, the less toxins have been picked up by the originating animal or originating fish, and then therefore they are not passed on to your dog because they weren't there to start with. So just keep that in mind when you're making your choices, because you won't always know. And so if you can do a little research on where all this stuff is coming from, how it's sourced, how it's made, how it's stored, how it's packaged, then that can help give you some better decision-making power. Okay. I feel like I'm rambling on just a little bit. Oh, good question, Logan, on a detox. So if you've never done one, my suggestion would be to schedule, right? If you're doing a dietary one, they generally take about 21 days. And then I recommend doing at least a couple of times a year, if not quarterly. And then anytime you are headed in for vaccinations or heavy rounds of medication, then some type of gut health support, liver support is probably appropriate at that time. Not necessarily during the time, but at that time, right? So yeah, that's a good question. At least a couple times a year. And I guess the last one that I'll mention, going back into this immune category, there's one that I use quite a lot called Inner Defense. It is not one that would be used long term. I had some dental work done last week. I used it before and after those procedures. Poppy, when she had her knee done, she used it before and after that procedure. If I am going to an event, or it's seasonal issues, like we're headed into winter and the cold winter blues kind of thing, I would use it more often in the winter than I do other times. If I were a competitive sport dog person, meaning I was going to dog shows, dog competitions, agility sports like that, we would use it day before, day of, and day after kind of thing. So it's not one that would necessarily be every day, but certainly in my bag of tricks. There are some that I would use frequently, if not regularly, right? Daily. I take some certain supplements every single day, and there's no reason for me to skip around or rotate those. Howie, for example, takes his supplements. Poppy takes her supplements with sometimes what I'll do is give them for like 3 weeks and take a couple days off. It depends. All of this depends on what it is you're trying to do, why, who is your dog, what's the source of all things that led to the decision of choosing the one you chose, and really putting together a whole wellness plan around that. If you get the food right, then much of this is eliminated, right? I can't do anything about the fact that Poppy's genetics blew out her knee, right? That's a classic thing in her breed. So I support her, all right? I support that. Knowing what I know now about heart health and things of that nature, when I had Great Danes, heart issues were extremely common in the big males. What I know now is I would have started them the day they arrived at my house on supportive care for their hearts, right? if I had a dog prone to any type of issue, right? Whether that's issues with their kidney, issues with their joints, issues with their skeletal system, whatever. Nutrition first, and then I'm going to start supporting the body based on what I know may be coming down the path. The theory is, and there's a lot of people way smarter than I am studying epigenetics, which is this study of just because the genetics are there that might flip the bits to indicate a certain disease or issue, right? A predisposition doesn't mean those bits have to get turned on. That if we do things effectively, and that's the big question mark, right? Is what is the right thing? But if we help support the body to do what it was designed to do at its best, then maybe we never see those issues in the first place. And so that's my current theory, right? I'm going to do what I can to try and deter as much of that as I can. I am not naive enough to think that I can control any of it, but I'm certainly going to give it my best effort. I don't want to look back ever again and think, should I or could I have done something differently or done something more that I didn't do? And the more I know, I'm like, okay, I can do that. And so if I learn something new, I'll add that to my bag of tricks. But I don't want to be the one looking back saying I didn't do enough. So, all right. Are any of you working on supplement plans for your dogs or using anything that you have a question about? So I'll remind those of you that that are on, nobody's left. Go to the Thinkific site, caninecoachonline.thinkific.com. Look for the well-oiled canine module, and you're going to get some information that is getting you started with essential oils, but there is a supplement section in there, and that'll be an important baseline for you to have. Okay? Have a good night, everybody.